Well, folks, here we are in the midst of the COVID crisis and the great global recession which has followed it. It's one giant cluster F, to use the technical macroeconomic term. The key question for those of us concerned about the planet is what do we do to engender a genuine green economic recovery? The energy sector generates 1/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions. If we tackle the energy sector, then we're going to make a huge impact in terms of our ability to keep global temperature increases within 1.5 degrees centigrade. There's some encouraging news. Number one is candidate Biden's promise that the United States would produce a decarbonised national electricity grid by 2035. And just to put that into its context, no American state at this stage has that commitment. Candidate Biden has also committed to the United States being net carbon neutral by 2050. These two undertakings form an enormous basis upon which we can see a clean energy revolution across the United States. Of course, globally, it ain't all as rosy as that. To put that into context, that's bigger than the current entire fleet of such stations within the United States. There are some positive things happening in China as well. They're making moves towards a carbon price. We also see initiatives in terms of electric vehicles. We see electrical vehicle charging stations across the country. If Biden's elected, whatever may happen in the rest of the US-China relationship, it is in the planet's interest that China and the United States resume collaboration on combined climate change action. Governments can make a difference. I was Prime Minister of Australia during the global financial crisis, and we made 3 big decisions as far as the environment were concerned. We legislated for a mandatory renewable energy target of 20% of Australian energy supply by 2020. And guess what? That's come in on time. We're now at 21-22% renewable in this country, having started with only 4. We also undertook what we call the Energy Efficient Homes program. Insulation into houses needing either heating or cooling, and that resulted in insulation in 20% of the nation's housing stock. We subsidised solar panels on about 20% of the nation's housing stock as well. These measures, in aggregate, helped contribute to a 10% real reduction in Australia's greenhouse gas emissions. So turning to the future and a global green economic recovery, I'd suggest the following steps. Number 1, targeted investments in renewable energy projects. Number 2, invest in large-scale energy infrastructure projects which of themselves transform the nature of the stationary energy sector. 3, invest in the decommissioning of existing coal-fired power stations which are ready for the scrap heap anyway. 4, invest again in R&D, because unless that happens, we're not dealing effectively with the big other renewable energy options and energy efficiency options for the future. I believe we can do that and do it in a way which actually generates not just good stuff for the environment and the planet, but generates a bunch of jobs and contributes to economic recovery at the same time, and makes this less of a cluster F than it would otherwise be. Good to be with you.